No body is coming to save you, by the protocols of Astrian. Remember when you were a kid and you truly believed that someone would always be there to catch you? You probably grew up watching movies where the hero shows up at the last second, or reading stories where the prince saves the day just before everything falls apart. Maybe your parents fixed your scraped knees and made monsters disappear from under your bed. Those feelings were warm and safe, and they planted a tiny seed inside you, the seed that whispers, "Don't worry, someone will come." That seed grows with us, turning into the quiet hope that a better job will find us, the right person will appear, or that one day everything will just magically click into place. We spend years looking at the horizon, waiting for a ship that was never actually scheduled to arrive. We wait for the boss to notice us, for the government to help us, for luck to finally turn our way. But here is the truth that stings at first and then sets you free. Nobody is coming. Not because you don't deserve help, but because the person you are waiting for is actually you. This book is not here to be mean or to leave you feeling empty and alone. It is here to wake you up with a bucket of cold water and a warm towel waiting right beside you. The moment you accept that no mysterious force is going to swoop in and fix your life is the exact moment you grab the steering wheel for the very first time. It sounds scary, I know, because taking responsibility feels heavy, like carrying bricks up a hill. But here is the secret that people who live amazing lives already know. Carrying your own bricks means you get to build your own house exactly how you want it. You get to choose the windows, the color of the walls, and who gets a key. This book will walk with you through every room of that house, from the dusty basement of your fears to the rooftop where you can finally shout your truth. We are going to dig deep, laugh a little, cry maybe, and most importantly, stop waiting by the window. So take a deep breath, because the person you have been hopping for your entire life is about to show up, and that person is you, ready to work. Chapter 1: The Day You Stop Waiting. You wake up one morning and something feels different, like the air in your room has changed while you were sleeping. Maybe you had a dream that left you with a feeling you can't quite name, or maybe you just got tired of feeling tired all the time. For so long you have been living on pause, waiting for a sign, a signal, a green light from the universe that says go. You have been putting your happiness on layaway, promising yourself that you will start living once you lose the weight, get the promotion, or find the partner. But this morning, as you stare at the ceiling, you realize that the person you are waiting for has a face, and it looks exactly like yours. It hits you like a wave, the understanding that all those years of waiting have just been years gone forever, and they never once sent you a refund. You sit up in bed and the old excuses feel flimsy now, like paper towels in the rain. You are not angry exactly. You are just done, finished with the game of hopping and ready to play a new one called doing. This feeling is not a one-time thing that magically fixes everything forever. It is a door that opens and invites you to walk through it. You might feel a little scared, even dizzy, because leaving the waiting room means entering the actual hospital where the work happens. But there is also a strange excitement bubbling underneath the fear, the kind you felt as a kid on the first day of summer break. You start to notice things you ignored before, like how the sun feels warmer when you actually go outside instead of watching it from the window. The voice in your head that used to say, "someday," now whispers "today." And it sounds different, stronger, like a friend instead of a dreamer. You might trip over your own feet at first, unsure how to actually move after sitting still for so long. But you are moving, and that is the whole point, because a wobbly first step is still 1,000 times better than perfect posture in a parked car. The day you stop waiting is not the day everything becomes easy. It is the day everything becomes possible. You will probably second-guess this new feeling by lunchtime, wondering if it was just a weird mood that will pass by dinner. That is totally normal, and it happens to everyone who decides to wake up from a long nap. Your brain loves the familiar, even when the familiar is making you miserable, because familiar feels safe. It will try to pull you back to sleep with thoughts like "maybe tomorrow," or "who do you think you are anyway?" But here is the trick. You don't have to feel ready to keep moving, you just have to keep moving even when you don't feel ready. Think of it like pushing a car that ran out of gas. The first few pushes are the hardest, but once it starts rolling, it gets easier to keep it going. You have already done the hardest part, which is deciding to get out of bed and push. So when doubt knocks on your door this afternoon, just smile at it and get back to pushing. The people around you might not understand what has gotten into you, and that is okay because they have been comfortable with the old you. Your friends might raise their eyebrows when you say no to another night of complaining about the same old problems. Your family might worry that you are going through a phase, something that will pass once you come to your senses. They mean well, most of them, but their comfort zone is built around the version of you that stayed stuck. You cannot blame them for wanting things to stay the same, because change can be scary for everyone in the room. But you also cannot let their confusion become your cage, their raised eyebrows become your stop sign. You are not responsible for keeping others comfortable by staying small. Let them wonder, let them talk, and let them eventually see what happens when someone stops waiting. This new path you are on does not require a fancy plan or a 10-step guide. It just requires you to stay awake. Staying awake means paying attention to the moments when you want to fall back into old habits of waiting. It means noticing when you catch yourself thinking, "I'll be happy when," and changing it to, "I am happy because I am trying." You will have days where the old sleepiness feels so warm and tempting, like a soft blanket on a cold morning. On those days, just remind yourself that you have already seen what lying there does for you. It gives you nothing but a sore back from all that lying. So you get up again, even if it is just to make coffee and look out the window. But this time you look out the window as someone who plans to go outside soon. Staying awake is a choice you make every morning, sometimes every hour, until it becomes who you are. And who you are becoming is someone who no longer waits for life to happen, but happens to life. Chapter 2: Spotting the Empty Promises. The world is full of people selling dreams, and they are really good at making their product look exactly like what you have been waiting for. You see them everywhere. The boss who pats your back and says the promotion is coming next quarter. Just be patient. There are the friends who tell you that your big break is right around the corner, even though they have been saying that for years. You even have voices inside your own head that promise you will start that business, write that book, or make that call someday when the time is right. These promises feel so good to hear because they let you off the hook for right now. They give you permission to stay comfortable a little longer. But here is the problem with promises that never come with a date. They are just clouds that look like mountains, beautiful from far away but impossible to climb. You can spend your whole life walking toward a cloud, never getting any closer, always believing that tomorrow will be the day you arrive. Learning to spot these empty promises is like learning to read the fine print on a contract that wants to steal your time. The first trick to spotting an empty promise is to look for the word someday without a plan attached to it. When someone tells you that someday you will get what you want, ask them politely what steps are being taken right now to make that happen. If they cannot show you a staircase, just a pointing finger toward the horizon, then they are selling you hope, not help. The same goes for the promises you make to yourself, like saying you will start exercising when you have more energy. Energy does not fall from the sky like rain. It comes from moving your body even when you feel tired. Empty promises are always comfortable. They never ask you to do anything hard or scary or inconvenient. Real promises come with blisters and sore muscles and late nights and moments of wanting to quit. So start paying attention to the difference between a dream that asks something of you and a fantasy that just asks you to wait. Another way to spot these traps is to notice how they make you feel in your gut, not just in your head. An empty promise usually gives you a quick warm feeling, like a sip of hot chocolate, but it leaves you hungry again an hour later. It makes you feel excited for a moment, then vaguely disappointed when you realize nothing has actually changed. Real progress, on the other hand, often feels heavy and uncomfortable at first, like lifting weights when your muscles are weak. When you are actually moving towards something real, you feel a mix of fear, doubt, and tiny sparks of hope that keep you going. The empty promise only offers the hope without the fear, which should tell you something is wrong. Real things are scary, fake things are easy, and your gut knows the difference even when your mind tries to argue. Trust that sinking feeling when you hear, "Just wait a little longer," and recognize it for what it is: a thief dressed up as a friend. You also need to watch out for promises that depend entirely on other people showing up for you. If your happiness is waiting on a partner to change, a parent to apologize, or a boss to retire, you have handed your keys to someone else. Those people might never do what you are hoping they will do, and you will be stuck at the bus stop forever waiting for a ride. It is one thing to hope for good things from others. It is another thing entirely to make your life wait on their schedule. The healthiest promises are the ones that only require you to show up, the ones where you control the first step and the second step and the third. Other people can join you on the journey, and that is wonderful, but they cannot be the engine of your car. If your plan depends on someone else finally getting their act together, then your plan is actually just a wish wearing work clothes. Take your power back by making promises that start with "I will" instead of "they will." The media and advertising are masters at selling empty promises. They have turned it into a multi-trillion-dollar business. Every commercial you watch tries to convince you that buying their product will finally make you feel whole, loved, or successful. Social media feeds are filled with people showing you their perfect lives, promising that if you just follow their method, you can have the same. These are not necessarily bad people trying to trick you, but they are showing you a finished product without showing you the years of work behind it. You see the vacation photo, but not the credit card bill. You see the relationship status, but not the hard conversations. Getting better at spotting these illusions means you stop comparing your real life to everyone else's highlight reel. It means understanding that the promise of quick results is almost always a trap for people who are tired of waiting. The real stuff takes time, and anyone who tells you different is probably trying to sell you something. The best protection against empty promises is to become a person who promises less and does more, who lets actions speak instead of words. When you stop making big announcements about what you are going to do someday, you take away the easy satisfaction of just talking about it. Talking about your plans gives you a little hit of dopamine, the same chemical your brain releases when you actually accomplish something. This means you can trick yourself into feeling like you are making progress just by telling people your dreams at parties. The problem is that the dopamine from talking replaces the motivation you need for actually doing, leaving you satisfied with nothing but hot air. So try this experiment for a week. Tell no one what you are planning. Just start doing small pieces of it in private. Let the work itself be the only promise you make, and let the results be the only announcement. You will be amazed at how many of your old someday dreams suddenly become today tasks when nobody is watching. Chapter 3. Your very own toolkit. You have been walking around thinking you are empty-handed, that everyone else got better tools at birth than you did. Maybe you look at people who seem confident and think they were born with a courage gene that you missed out on. Perhaps you see someone who is disciplined and assume they just have better willpower, stronger bones for saying no to cake and yes to the gym. But here is the truth that changes everything. You already have a toolkit inside you. It has just been sitting in the garage collecting dust. You have tools like stubbornness, which can be used to hold yourself back or to push through walls. You have a heart that can feel fear and still decide to move forward anyway, which is actually the definition of courage. You have a mind that has survived every single bad day you have ever had, which means it knows something about resilience. The tools are there. We just need to pull them out, clean them off, and learn how to use them properly. Let us start with the tool of stubbornness, because most people think being stubborn is a bad thing, a character flaw that makes you difficult. But stubbornness is just determination wearing an ugly name. It is the refusal to give up even when quitting would be easier. Think about all the times you have been stubborn in your life, refusing to let someone win an argument, refusing to change your mind just because others disagreed. That same energy, that same refusal to bend, can be pointed at your own goals instead of at other people. You can be stubborn about getting up early, stubborn about finishing that project, stubborn about believing in yourself when nobody else does. The key is not to get rid of your stubbornness. It is to aim it at the right target. Instead of being stubborn against your boss, be stubborn against your own excuses. Instead of being stubborn with your partner about who is right, be stubborn with yourself about becoming better. Next, we need to look at the tool of pain, because you have been through things that hurt, and those things actually made you stronger without you realizing it. Every time you survive something hard, your body and mind learned a little lesson about how to survive the next thing. You might have been hurt by someone you loved, and that taught you something about boundaries or about who to trust. You might have failed at something important, and that taught you that failing does not actually kill you, it just feels like it will. Pain is like a fire that can burn down your house or forge your sword. It all depends on what you do with the heat. You have been through the fire already, which means you are not made of paper, you are made of tougher stuff. The next time something hard happens, remind yourself that you have survived hard things before, and you have the scars to prove it. Those scars are not weaknesses, they are medals from battles you already won. Another tool you might have forgotten about is your ability to learn, which has been working your whole life without you even noticing. You learned to walk when you were a baby, falling down hundreds of times before you finally got it right. You learned to talk, to read, to ride a bike, to drive a car, all things that seemed impossible before you did them. Your brain is literally designed to figure things out. It is a problem-solving machine that never stops working. When you face something new and scary now, your brain already knows how to learn it. You just have to give it permission to be bad at first. The problem is that adults hate looking stupid, so we stop trying things that make us feel clumsy and awkward. But clumsy and awkward is just the price of admission to getting good at anything worthwhile. Your toolkit includes a brain that has mastered hard things before, and it can do it again. You also have the tool of time, which you probably think you don't have enough of, but that is not exactly true. You have exactly the same 24 hours every day that every successful person has ever had. The difference is not how much time you have, it is how you choose to spend the time you have been given. Think about where your time actually goes, not where you wish it went, but the real numbers on the clock. You might be surprised to find that you have more minutes than you think. They are just leaking into phone screens and worry and waiting. Your toolkit includes the ability to redirect those minutes towards something that matters to you. You do not need huge blocks of time. You just need to stop bleeding the small blocks into nothing. 15 minutes a day of focused work adds up to 90 hours a year, which is enough to learn a new skill or write 100 pages. Your time is a tool, and like any tool, it works better when you actually pick it up and use it. The final tool we need to talk about is your voice. That thing inside you that knows what you want even when you're scared to admit it. You have spent years listening to other people's voices, taking their opinions and making them louder than your own. Your parents' voice, your teacher's voice, society's voice, they have all had a turn at the microphone in your head. But your own voice has been there the whole time, quietly whispering what actually makes you come alive. That voice might tell you that you want to paint, even though it is impractical. It might tell you that you want to leave a job that pays well but makes you feel dead inside. Learning to hear your own voice again takes practice, because it has been drowned out for so long. But it is still there, waiting for you to turn down the volume on everyone else and finally listen to the only opinion that actually matters in the end. Chapter 4: The Heavy Backpack. Imagine you have been hiking for years with a backpack full of rocks, and you forgot they were even in there. You have been carrying old hurts from childhood, mean things people said to you in school that you still believe are true. There are rocks in there labeled not good enough. And who do you think you are? And you always mess things up. You picked up some of these rocks from parents who did not know how to love you the way you needed. You collected others from friends who left, from bosses who fired you, from lovers who chose someone else. The backpack is so heavy that your shoulders hurt all the time, but you have been carrying it so long you forgot what it feels like to be light. You might even think the weight is just part of being an adult, that everyone walks around bent forward and tired. But here is the good news. You can open the backpack right now, take out each rock, and decide whether it needs to come with you for the rest of the hike. The first rock to look at is the one labeled that thing from your childhood, the memory that still makes your stomach hurt when you think about it. Maybe it was a parent who left, a teacher who humiliated you, or a time when you felt completely alone and scared. That rock has been in your backpack for decades, rubbing against your back every single day, shaping how you see the world. You might have built entire walls around yourself to make sure you never feel that pain again, walls that also keep out love and joy. But here is the thing about that old rock. The person who hurt you probably is not thinking about it anymore. They have moved on with their life. You are the only one still carrying it, still letting it weigh you down while they sleep peacefully at night. You do not have to forgive them right now. That might come later or never, but you can decide to stop carrying the weight. You can set that rock down on the side of the trail and walk away from it, leaving it behind where it belongs. The next rock to examine is the one labeled things I should have done differently, all the regrets and mistakes that haunt you late at night. You probably have a collection of moments you wish you could go back and change, words you wish you had not said, chances you wish you had taken. These rocks are tricky because they feel productive, like beating yourself up will somehow undo what happened. But carrying regret does not change the past, it only ruins the present, and it cannot touch tomorrow at all. You made decisions with the information you had at the time, with the tools you had in that moment. You were doing your best, even if your best was not very good back then, and that is okay because you are learning. The mistake is not the problem. The problem is carrying the mistake around forever like a prisoner carrying their chains. You can look at each regret, learn whatever lesson is inside it, and then put the rock down and keep walking. There is also a rock in your backpack labeled, "What other people think of me." And this one is often the heaviest of all. You have been carrying the opinions of people who do not pay your bills, who do not live your life, who do not know your story. You made decisions based on what the neighbors would say, what your family would think, what strangers on the internet might post. This rock is so heavy because it is actually a collection of thousands of tiny rocks, every judgment, every side-eye, every whispered comment you ever heard. But here is a secret that will set you free. Other people are mostly thinking about themselves, not about you. They are too busy worrying about their own backpacks to spend much time analyzing your choices. And even if they are judging you, their judgment is just noise. It has no power except the power you give it. You can set this rock down right now, and watch how much faster you can walk without it. Another rock you might find is labeled, "The person I was supposed to become." All the expectations you had for yourself that did not come true. Maybe you thought you would be married by now, or rich, or famous, or living in a bigger house. Maybe you look at friends your age who seem ahead of you and feel like you are failing some invisible race. This rock hurts because it is made of disappointment, the gap between where you thought you would be and where you actually are. But life is not a straight line that follows the map you drew when you were 20 years old. Life is a winding path with surprises and detours, and some of those detours have taught you things you never would have learned on the planned route. The person you actually became is real, breathing, still trying, and that is worth something. You can let go of the imaginary person you were supposed to be and make room for the actual person you are becoming right now. The last rock we need to look at is labeled fear of the future. All the worry about what might happen next that has not even happened yet. You have been carrying disasters that never occurred, arguments that never happened, failures that never came to pass. Your brain spends so much energy preparing for worst-case scenarios that you are exhausted before anything bad even happens. This rock is especially sneaky because it pretends to be helpful, like worrying is the same as preparing. But worry is not preparation. It is just suffering twice, once in your imagination and then again if the bad thing actually happens. Most of the things you worry about will never happen, and the ones that do happen will be handled by you in the moment. You have handled every single hard thing that has ever come your way, and you will handle the next ones too. So set down the rock of future fear and trust that future you will be strong enough, just like past you has always been. Chapter 5. Building your own map. Nobody gave you a map when you were born, no instruction manual for your specific life with your specific dreams and fears. Your parents had their own map, but it was drawn for a different world, a different time, a different person. Your teachers tried to give you a map, but it was the same one they gave everyone, a one-size-fits-all guide to a life that might not fit you at all. Society keeps handing you maps that lead to the same destinations. Get the degree, get the job, get the house, get the stuff, get buried. But if those maps actually led to happiness, everyone who followed them would be dancing in the streets, and they are not. You have been trying to follow directions written by people who do not know where you want to go. It is time to accept that you are the only cartographer for your journey, the only one who can draw the lines that actually make sense for you. And the good news is that you do not need to draw the whole map at once. You just need to draw the next few steps. The first thing you need to build your map is to figure out where you actually want to go, not where you think you should want to go. This sounds simple, but it is actually the hardest question you will ever answer because of all the noise in your head. You have been told your whole life what success looks like, what happiness means, what a good person does with their time. Your job is to ignore all of that for a while and get quiet enough to hear what you actually want. Imagine you had $1 million and 10 years to live. What would you spend your time doing, not for money, just for joy? Imagine nobody was watching, nobody would judge, nobody would ever know. What would you secretly love to try? These questions are like compasses that point toward your true north, the direction your soul wants to walk. Write down whatever comes, even if it seems silly or impossible, because those clues are the beginning of your real map. Once you have a direction in mind, the next step is to break the journey into pieces small enough that you can actually take them. Most people give up on their dreams because they look at the whole mountain and feel too small to climb it. They think they have to go from standing still to running a marathon, from zero to hero, from nothing to everything overnight. But mountains are climbed one step at a time, and the only step that matters right now is the next one. If you want to write a book, your next step is not write a book. It is write for 15 minutes today. If you want to start a business, your next step is not become a CEO. It is talk to one person who might need what you offer. Your map does not need to show the whole continent. It just needs to show you how to get to the next town. Take the big dream and shrink it down until it is small enough to fit inside today. And then do that thing. Your map will need to include rest stops, because nobody can walk forever without sleeping and eating and breathing. The people who burn out are the ones who forget that rest is part of the journey, not a failure of the journey. You are not a machine. You are a human with limits, and respecting those limits is how you keep walking for the long haul. Your map should have days where you do nothing, where you lay in the grass and watch clouds and let your brain reset. It should have moments of celebration when you reach a milestone, even a small one, because you deserve to enjoy the view along the way. The people who only look at the final destination miss all the beautiful things that happen between here and there. Rest is not quitting. Rest is refueling, and a well-rested traveler goes further than one who never stops. So put some hammocks on your map, some lazy afternoons, some time to just be alive without trying to get somewhere. You also need to build flexibility into your map, because the path will change and the weather will shift, and you will learn new things. The map you draw today might look silly in a year when you know more about yourself and the world. That is not a sign that you failed. It is a sign that you are growing, and growing means your directions need to update. Some of the roads you thought were highways will turn out to be dead ends, and that is okay because you can turn around. Some of the detours that seemed like mistakes will lead you to the most beautiful places you never planned to visit. A good map is not one that you follow blindly no matter what. It is one that you adjust as you learn the terrain. Be willing to redraw the lines, to change the destination, to take a path you never considered before. The only wrong move is to stand still because you are afraid your map is not perfect. Chapter 6. Talking to the face in the mirror. You probably talk to yourself all day long without even realizing it, a constant stream of words running through your head like a radio left on. The problem is that, for most of us, that radio station plays some pretty mean songs. Songs with lyrics like, "You are so stupid," and "Why did you say that?" and "Everyone thinks you are weird." You would never talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself. You would never be that cruel to someone you love. But somehow you have given yourself permission to be your own worst bully, the meanest kid in the schoolyard standing inside your own head. Imagine if your best friend followed you around all day whispering mean things in your ear. You would tell them to shut up and go away. Yet you let that voice stay. You let it run the show. You let it shape how you see yourself and your life. It is time to fire that bully and hire a new voice, one that cheers for you instead of tears you down. Talking to the face in the mirror is about becoming your own best coach, your own biggest fan, your own soft place to land. The first step to changing how you talk to yourself is simply to notice what you are saying, to become aware of the constant commentary. For one day, try to pay attention to the thoughts that pop into your head when you make a mistake or face a challenge. You might be shocked at how harsh the voice is, how quick it is to judge, how ready it is to assume the worst about you. Write some of those thoughts down, actually put them on paper, and look at them like you are reading someone else's words. Would you let a friend talk about themselves that way? Would you let a stranger talk to your child with that tone? Probably not, because those words are ugly and unfair and not even true. The voice in your head has been lying to you for years, telling you things about yourself that are just not real. Noticing the lie is the first step to stopping the lie, like turning on the lights and seeing the monster is just a coat hanging on a hook. Now that you have noticed the mean voice, you can start to replace it with a kinder one, and this takes practice like building any new muscle. When you catch yourself thinking, "I am such an idiot," try pausing and asking, "What would I tell a friend who did this?" You would probably tell them it is okay, everyone makes mistakes, tomorrow is a new day full of new chances. So try saying those same words to yourself, out loud if you have to, until they start to feel more natural. When you mess up, instead of piling on with criticism, try saying, "That did not work, but I am learning, and learning means messing up sometimes." This is not about pretending everything is perfect or lying to yourself about your flaws. It is about treating yourself with the same basic decency you would offer a stranger on the street. You deserve kindness from the person who spends the most time with you, and that person is you. Another powerful tool is to give yourself a name or a role that helps you show up differently in hard moments. Some people call it their inner coach or their big brother or their wise self, whatever works for you. When things get hard, you can imagine that stronger, kinder version of yourself stepping in to offer support. That version of you has been through hard things before and knows you can get through this too. That version believes in you even when you do not believe in yourself, and their faith can carry you through the rough spots. You can literally have conversations in your head with this wiser self, asking them what they would do, what they would say. It might feel strange at first, like talking to imaginary friends as an adult, but it works because it is actually just you accessing your own wisdom. The person you are becoming is already inside you, waiting to be invited to speak. You also need to practice celebrating yourself, not just comforting yourself when things go wrong, but cheering when things go right. Most of us are terrible at acknowledging our own wins. We brush them off as luck or no big deal or something anyone could do. But every small victory is proof that you are moving, that you are trying, that you are showing up for your life. When you do something hard, even if it is just getting out of bed on a rough day, take a moment to notice it. Say to yourself, "Good job, that took courage," or "I am proud of you for trying," or "Look at you, showing up again." These small acknowledgments add up over time, building a foundation of self-respect that cannot be shaken by outside opinions. You are not waiting for someone else to clap for you anymore. You are bringing your own hands together. And your applause matters more than anyone else's because you know exactly how hard you had to work. The mirror is a powerful place to practice this new way of talking, even though it might feel awkward at first. Try standing in front of the mirror each morning and saying one kind thing to yourself, just one sentence of encouragement. It can be as simple as, I am glad you are here, or you have good ideas, or today you are going to try your best. Look yourself in the eyes when you say it, like you are talking to a real person who deserves to hear something nice. The first few times you might feel silly, you might roll your eyes or laugh or want to quit, but keep doing it, because the person in that mirror has been waiting their whole life to hear those words from you. They have been waiting for you to show up, to be on their team, to have their back no matter what. And now you are finally here, ready to be the friend you always needed. Chapter 7. When the road gets bumpy, it will. Here is a promise that no self-help book should ever make. If you follow these steps, your life will be smooth sailing from now on. That would be a lie, and you have been lied to enough already, so let us tell the truth instead. The road will get bumpy. It will get bumpy soon, and it will get bumpy often, because that is just how roads work. You will have days when you wake up and all your motivation is gone, replaced by a heavy blanket of what is the point. You will have setbacks that feel like the universe is personally picking on you, punching you right in the gut. You will have moments when you want to quit, when you want to go back to waiting, when you miss the old days of just hopping. This is not a sign that you are failing. This is a sign that you are on an actual road instead of a drawing of one. The bumps are part of the journey, and this chapter is about learning how to drive over them without falling apart. The first thing to understand about bumps is that they are temporary. They feel like they will last forever when you are in the middle of them, but they never do. Think back to the hardest times in your life, the moments when you thought you would never smile again. You are still here, aren't you? Still breathing, still reading, still capable of feeling hope even after all that pain. The bumpy parts end, they always end, because time keeps moving and so do you. The sun sets on the worst days just like it sets on the best ones, and it rises again the next morning whether you want it to or not. When you are in the middle of a rough patch, remind yourself that this feeling is not permanent, that it has an expiration date even if you cannot see it. You have survived every single bump you have ever hit, and you will survive this one too. The road does not stay bumpy forever. It just stays bumpy for a while, and a while is not forever. When you hit a bump, your first instinct might be to panic, to freeze, to assume the worst and start planning your funeral. This is totally normal. Your brain is designed to overreact to threats because it is trying to keep you alive. But most bumps are not life-threatening. They are just uncomfortable, and panicking only makes them worse. Try to take a breath, actually a deep one, before you do anything else when something goes wrong. Ask yourself, what is actually happening right now? Not what am I afraid might happen, but the real facts of this moment. Usually the real facts are not as scary as the story your brain is telling about them. You lost a client, but you did not lose your ability to find another one. You made a mistake, but you did not lose your chance to learn and do better next time. Panic shrinks your world down to the size of the problem, but breathing expands it back to include all your resources and strengths. Another important skill for bumpy roads is learning to ask for help, which is different from waiting for someone to save you. Asking for help is an action you take, a Chinese letter you make, a choice to use the people around you as resources. Waiting for someone to save you is passive. It is hoping that someone will notice you struggling and decide to intervene. But asking for help is active. It is saying, I am stuck. Can you give me a hand for a minute? There is no shame in needing other people. Humans are pack animals who survived for millennia by helping each other. The strongest people are not the ones who never need help. They are the ones who know when to ask for it. So when the road gets rough, look around and see who might be able to walk with you for a while. A friend to listen, a mentor to advise, a professional to guide. These are all tools in your toolkit. You are still the one driving, but sometimes you need someone to help you read the map. You also need to develop a sense of humor about the bumps, because laughter really is medicine for the weary soul. When things go wrong in ridiculous ways, when the universe seems to be playing a mean joke on you, try to find the funny side. This is not about pretending pain is not painful. It is about not letting the pain steal your ability to see the absurdity of life. Some of the best stories you will ever tell come from the times everything fell apart in the most ridiculous way. The time you locked your keys in the car during a job interview, the time you tripped on stage right before your big speech. These moments are embarrassing and frustrating, but they are also human, and humans are kind of funny creatures. Learning to laugh at yourself is a superpower. It takes away the power of the bump to ruin your whole day. So when things go wrong, try saying, well, this will make a good story someday, and mean it. Finally, remember that bumps are not just obstacles. They are also teachers, and they have lessons you cannot learn on smooth roads. You learn how strong you are when life pushes you, not when life carries you gently along. You learn what really matters when things get taken away, not when everything is handed to you. You learn who your real friends are when you are struggling, not when you are succeeding and everyone wants to be near you. The bumps shape you into someone more interesting, more compassionate, more real than you could ever be without them. So when you hit a rough patch, try asking, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of just, why is this happening to me? The answer might not come right away. It might take months or years to understand. But eventually you will look back and see that the bumps were not just holes in the road. They were also the things that built your muscles for the rest of the journey. Chapter 8. Finding your people, not your saviors. Just because nobody is coming to save you does not mean you have to walk alone, and this is a distinction that changes everything. You can have a tribe, a crew, a bunch of fellow travelers who walk beside you on the road. The key word here is beside, not in front of and not carrying you, but right next to you, matching your pace. These are the people who cheer when you win and sit with you when you lose, but they never take over the steering wheel. They have their own cars to drive, their own roads to travel, their own bumps to navigate. Finding these people is one of the most important tasks of your life, because the journey is so much better with company. But you have to find them in the right way, for the right reasons, with the right expectations. This chapter is about building a crew of fellow travelers, not a collection of people you secretly hope will rescue you. The first step to finding your people is to become the kind of person you would want to be friends with, to work on yourself first before seeking others. Think about the qualities you admire in other people, the ones that make you want to be around them. Do you like people who complain all the time, or people who look for solutions? Do you like people who are jealous of your success, or people who celebrate when good things happen to you? You attract who you are, not who you want. So if you want good people in your life, work on being a good person first. This does not mean you have to be perfect. Nobody is perfect, but it means showing up with honesty and kindness and effort. When you are working on yourself, you naturally start showing up in places where other people are working on themselves too. You become a magnet for the kind of energy you are putting out into the world. So focus on your own growth, and watch how the right people start appearing along your path. You also need to be willing to let go of people who are not right for you, even if you have known them forever. Some of the people in your life are like old shoes that used to fit, but now give you blisters every time you wear them. They might be friends who love the old you, the stuck you, the waiting you, because that version made them feel better about themselves. When you start changing, when you start growing and moving and becoming, some people will feel threatened by it. They might make jokes about your new habits, roll their eyes at your goals, or subtly try to pull you back to where you used to be. These people are not bad, they are just scared, and their fear is not your responsibility to fix. You can love them from a distance, you can wish them well, but you cannot let them clip your wings so they feel less alone. Letting go is painful, but it makes room for new people who can fly alongside you. When you start looking for your people, look for the ones who ask questions instead of just giving answers. The people who will truly walk beside you are curious about you. They want to know what you think and feel and dream. They do not show up with a list of everything you are doing wrong and how they would fix it. They show up with open ears and open hearts, ready to listen before they speak. They ask, "How are you really doing?" and wait for the real answer, not just the polite one. They ask, "What do you need right now?" instead of assuming they already know. These are the people who see you as a whole person, not a project to be completed or a problem to be solved. They respect your journey enough to let you walk it, while still being close enough to catch you if you stumble. Find the askers, not the tellers, and hold on to them when you do. Another sign of your people is that they celebrate your wins without jealousy, and they sit with your losses without judgment. When something good happens to you, the right people are genuinely happy, not secretly comparing themselves to you. They do not make your success about them. They do not say, "must be nice," or "I wish I had your luck." They say, "I am so proud of you," and mean it, because your win does not diminish their chances of winning too. And when something bad happens, they do not rush to fix it or minimize it or tell you to look on the bright side. They just show up, maybe with soup or silence or a hand to hold, and let you feel what you need to feel. They know that sometimes the best help is just presence, just another body in the room saying, "I am here, you are not alone." These people are rare, and they are precious, and they are worth traveling far to find. You also need to be this kind of person for others, because finding your people is a two-way street, not just a receiving line. If you want friends who listen, you have to listen too, really listen, not just wait for your turn to talk. If you want friends who celebrate you, you have to celebrate them, cheer their wins even when you are struggling with your own. If you want friends who show up for you, you have to show up for them, even when it is inconvenient, even when you are tired. The energy you put out comes back to you, not always from the same people, but from the universe in general. Being a good friend is a skill you can practice, a muscle you can build, a choice you make every day. And as you become a better friend to others, you will naturally attract people who are also working on being good friends. The tribe builds itself when everyone is focused on giving, not just getting. Chapter 9. Small Wins, Big Fire. There is a myth that big success requires big actions, huge gestures, massive changes that shake the earth beneath your feet. This myth keeps people stuck because big things are scary, and scary things are easy to put off until someday. The truth is much simpler and much more doable. Big fires start with small sparks, one tiny flame that catches and grows. Everything impressive you have ever seen was built one small piece at a time, one brick, one step, one day after another. The tallest building started with a single shovel of dirt. The longest book started with one word, then another, then another. You do not need to change your whole life tomorrow. You just need to change one small thing today. And then another small thing the next day, and another after that, until the small things have built something huge. This chapter is about falling in love with small wins and letting them build a fire that nothing can put out. The first step to collecting small wins is to make your goals so tiny that they are almost impossible to fail at. If you want to start exercising, do not commit to an hour at the gym. Commit to putting on your shoes and stepping outside. If you want to write a book, do not commit to a chapter. Commit to writing one sentence, just one. If you want to eat healthier, do not commit to a whole day of salads. Commit to drinking one glass of water before your coffee. These goals sound almost silly. They sound too small to matter, but that is exactly the point. When the goal is tiny, there is no room for excuses, no room for procrastination, no room for fear to hide. You can always do one small thing, even on your worst day, even when you are tired and sad and wanting to quit. And when you do that one small thing, you get a small win, and small wins feel good, and feeling good makes you want to do another small thing. The magic of small wins is that they build momentum, which is like a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and faster as it goes. When you do one small thing, you prove to yourself that you are someone who takes action, not just someone who dreams about it. That proof is powerful. It changes how you see yourself. It builds identity as much as it builds results. You start to think, "I am the kind of person who shows up," and that thought makes it easier to show up again tomorrow. The small win creates a tiny hit of dopamine in your brain, the feel-good chemical that makes you want more of whatever just happened. So your brain starts looking for more small wins, more chances to feel that good feeling again. Before you know it, you have a streak going, a chain of small wins that is getting harder and harder to break. And a chain of small wins is just another name for big success. Another beautiful thing about small wins is that they teach you patience, which is a superpower in a world that wants everything right now. When you commit to small daily actions, you accept that results take time, that the mountain is climbed one step at a time. You stop looking for the quick fix, the magic pill, the secret that will change everything overnight. You start to trust the process, to believe that showing up every day is actually the secret, boring and simple as it sounds. This patience is not passive waiting. It is active trusting. It is doing the work while letting time do its part too. You plant the seed and water it every day, but you do not dig it up to check if it is growing. You know that the growing is happening underground, invisible to your eyes but real nonetheless. And one day you look up and realize that all those small, patient actions have turned into something you never could have rushed. Small wins also protect you from the danger of all-or-nothing thinking, which is the enemy of progress everywhere. All-or-nothing thinking says if you cannot do it perfectly, you should not do it at all, so you quit at the first mistake. Small wins thinking says any progress is good progress, even if it is not perfect, even if it is not much. So you miss a day of your new habit, so what? You just start again the next day. The chain is not broken forever. So you only did half of what you planned. So what? Half is infinitely more than zero, and zero is what you would have done before. Small wins thinking is forgiving. It is flexible. It knows that life is messy and humans are imperfect. It does not demand perfection. It just demands showing up again and again, as many times as it takes. This kind of thinking keeps you in the game long enough to actually win, instead of quitting because you could not win perfectly right away. The fire that small wins build is not just external success. It is internal confidence, a belief in yourself that cannot be shaken. Every time you do what you said you would do, you deposit a coin in your self-trust bank account. Over time, that account grows, and you start to trust yourself with bigger and bigger things. You know that if you say you will do something, you will probably do it because you have done it 100 times before. This self-trust is the foundation of everything. It is the difference between hopping and knowing. When you know you can rely on yourself, you stop needing to rely on others so much. You become your own rock, your own foundation, your own safest place to land. And that feeling, that quiet confidence deep in your bones, is the biggest fire that small wins can build. Chapter 10. The Noise of Other People. From the moment you were born, people started telling you who to be, what to want, how to live, and they have not stopped since. Your parents had ideas about your future, your teachers had opinions about your potential, your friends have thoughts about your choices. Society shouts at you through screens and billboards and magazines, telling you that you are not enough and buying things will fix it. Even strangers on the street have judgments about your body, your clothes, your hair, your life, and some of them feel free to share. This noise is constant, it is everywhere. It is like living next to a highway and forgetting there was ever such a thing as silence. The problem is that this noise gets inside your head. It becomes the voice you hear when you try to make decisions. You start to wonder what they will think, what people will say, how your choices will look from the outside. This chapter is about turning down the volume on everyone else so you can finally hear yourself. The first thing to understand about the noise is that most of it is not about you at all. It is about the people making it. When someone judges your choices harshly, they are usually revealing their own fears, their own regrets, their own things they wish they had done differently. The coworker who makes fun of your side hustle might be someone who gave up on their own dreams years ago. The family member who questions your life path might be someone who played it safe and now wonders what if. Their noise is a reflection of their inner world, not a true report on your value or your choices. This does not make the noise less painful to hear, but it might make it easier to ignore. You can look at them with compassion, seeing their fear instead of feeling attacked by it. You can say, that says more about you than it does about me, and keep walking your path. Their noise is their problem, unless you pick it up and make it yours. Another important realization is that most people are not thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. This sounds harsh, but it is actually freeing. Because it means the spotlight you feel is mostly in your own mind. Other people are busy with their own lives, their own problems, their own insecurities, their own internal noise. They might notice what you do for a second, have a quick thought, and then move on to the next thing in their own drama. They are not keeping a scorecard of your choices. They are not waiting to see if you fail or succeed. They are mostly just worried about themselves. When you really absorb this truth, it takes the pressure off. It lets you breathe a little easier. You realize you have been performing for an audience that is barely paying attention, and you can stop performing now. You can just live, just be, just make choices based on what feels right to you. The spotlight is off, and you can finally relax. There is also a special kind of noise that comes from the people closest to you, and this one is harder to handle because you love them. Your parents might have a vision for your life that does not match your own, and their disappointment can feel like a physical weight. Your oldest friends might want you to stay the same person you were in high school, because your growth makes them feel left behind. Your partner might have ideas about who you should be, that conflict with who you are becoming. These are not bad people. They are just people who love you and are also scared of change. Their noise comes from a place of love, usually, but love does not make the noise less noisy. You have to find a way to honor their feelings without letting them run your life. You can listen, you can consider, you can thank them for caring, but the final decision is always yours. Love does not mean obedience, and their fear is not your cage. Learning to filter the noise means developing a strong sense of your own values, your own desires, your own internal compass. When you know what matters to you deeply, the opinions of others start to bounce off instead of sinking in. If you know that being creative is essential to your soul, then someone calling your art a waste of time just sounds like static. If you know that freedom is your highest value, then pressure to settle down and play it safe just sounds like background music. The clearer you are about your own truth, the less other people's opinions can shake you. This clarity comes from quiet, from spending time alone, from asking yourself hard questions and waiting for honest answers. It comes from trial and error, from trying things and noticing how they feel in your body. Your compass is inside you, always has been. You just have to clear away the noise enough to read it. The final skill you need is the ability to be polite but firm, to set boundaries with people who will not stop being noisy. You can say, "I appreciate your concern, but I have got this," and change the subject. You can say, "I am not looking for advice right now, I just need you to listen and mean it." You can limit time with people who constantly drain you, who make you feel small, who cannot support your growth. You do not have to announce these boundaries loudly or make a scene. You just have to enforce them quietly and consistently. Over time, the people who respect you will learn to adjust, and the people who cannot respect you will drift away. This is not cruel. This is self-preservation. This is protecting the space where your own voice can grow. You deserve to have your own frequency, your own signal, your own song to sing without being drowned out by the noise of other people. Chapter 11. Getting Back Up, the sequel. You are going to fall. That is not a prediction. It is a guarantee. A promise life makes to everyone who tries to stand up and move. You will fall because the ground is uneven, because you get tired, because sometimes you just trip over your own 2 feet. You will fall in front of people, which is embarrassing, and you will fall alone, which is lonely. You will fall after big wins, when you get comfortable and stop paying attention, and you will fall after long slumps when you finally try to get up again. Falling is not the problem. Falling is just part of walking, part of being human, part of being alive on a planet with gravity. The problem is what you do after you fall, whether you stay there or whether you get back up. This chapter is the sequel to every chapter before it, the part where we talk about the getting up, again and again and again. Because the people who win are not the ones who never fall, they are the ones who get back up one more time than they fall. The first thing to do when you fall is to check for damage, to see if you are really hurt or just scared and bruised. Sometimes when we fall, we panic and assume the worst. We think we have broken something that cannot be fixed. But most falls just leave scrapes, hurts that will heal, bruises that will fade with a little time and care. Take a breath and actually assess the situation. What is broken for real and what just feels broken because you are scared? Did you lose money or just pride? Did you lose a relationship or just an idea of how it should be? Did you lose time or just the perfect timeline you had in your head? Usually the damage is smaller than it feels in the first moments of the fall. Your heart is pounding, your face is hot, Your mind is racing, but you are still here, still breathing, still capable of standing up. So take stock, tend to your wounds, and then start thinking about standing. Getting back up requires a different kind of courage than starting did, because starting was exciting and getting up again is just tired. The first time you tried, you had hope, you had dreams, you had the thrill of possibility ahead of you. But after a fall, you have memories of failure, you have evidence that things did not work out, you have fear that it will happen again. This is why so many people stay on the ground after a fall, because getting up again feels pointless, feels like setting yourself up for more pain. But here is the truth that the people who make it know. Every time you get back up, you get a little stronger, a little wiser, a little harder to knock down. The fall teaches you something about where the holes are, about what to watch out for next time. The getting up teaches you something about yourself, about how tough you really are. So you get up tired, you get up scared, you get up not knowing if it will be different this time. You get up anyway, because staying down is the only real failure. You also need to let yourself feel the fall, to be sad or angry or frustrated without judging yourself for those feelings. Some people think that getting back up means pretending it did not hurt, putting on a brave face, acting like everything is fine. But that is not strength. That is just hiding, and hidden feelings have a way of coming out later in worse ways. Let yourself be upset that you fell. Let yourself grieve what you lost. Let yourself be human about the whole thing. Cry if you need to, punch a pillow if it helps, complain to a friend who will just listen without fixing. Feelings are not the enemy. Feelings are information. They tell you that something mattered and losing it hurts. The goal is not to not feel. The goal is to feel and then move anyway, to carry your feelings with you as you get back up. You can be sad and still stand, angry and still walk, scared and still try again. Your feelings can come along for the ride, they just cannot drive the car. Another important part of getting back up is to ask for help when you need it, to let people support you in the standing. You fell, you are hurt, you are tired, and there is no medal for pretending you can do it all alone. Reach out to your people, the ones we talked about in Chapter 8, and let them help you up. Let them bring you soup, let them listen to your story, let them remind you who you are when you have forgotten. Sometimes just having someone stand next to you makes it easier to find your own feet again. They cannot walk for you, they cannot carry you, but they can offer a hand, a shoulder, a voice saying, "You have got this, I believe in you." Accepting help is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is knowing that humans are built for community. So when you fall, look around for the hands that are reaching out and take them. The final thing to remember about getting back up is that it gets easier with practice, like any other skill you repeat over time. The first time you fall and get up, it feels huge. It feels like climbing a mountain just to stand again. The 10th time it still hurts, but you know the process, you know the steps, you know you can do it. The 100th time, getting up is just what you do. It is automatic, it is who you are. You become someone who falls and rises, until the rising is so natural that the falling barely matters. This is the secret of people who seem unstoppable. They have just fallen so many times that getting up is their default setting. They do not waste energy wondering if they should get up. They just do it, like breathing, like blinking. And that is where you are headed, to a place where falling is just part of the dance, and getting back up is just the next step. Chapter 12. The story you tell yourself. You are telling yourself a story right now. You have been telling it your whole life, and you probably did not even notice. This story is playing in your head constantly, narrating your days, interpreting your experiences, explaining why things happen to you. The story might sound something like, "I am unlucky," or "Nothing ever works out for me," or "People always leave eventually." It might sound like, "I am not smart enough," or "I am too old to start," or "I am just not the kind of person who succeeds." These are not facts, they are stories. They are just sentences you started believing somewhere along the way. And the crazy thing is that your brain works hard to prove your story true, to find evidence that supports what you already believe. If your story is "people are mean," you will notice every rude person and forget the kind ones. If your story is "I can do hard things," you will find proof of that too. This chapter is about looking at the story you have been telling and deciding if it is time to write a new one. The first step to changing your story is to notice what the current story actually is, to hear the sentences running through your mind. For one day, try to pay attention to the explanations you give yourself when things go wrong or right. When something bad happens, what do you tell yourself about why it happened? Do you blame yourself, blame others, blame the universe, blame your bad luck? When something good happens, do you celebrate it or explain it away as a fluke, as something that will not last? Write down some of these sentences, actually put them on paper where you can look at them objectively. You might be shocked at how negative the story is, how it assumes the worst, how it takes small events and builds them into proof of failure. But now that you see the story, you can start to question it, to ask if it is really true. And most of the time, you will find that the story is just a habit, not a fact. Once you see the old story, you can start to write a new one, and this is where things get exciting and creative. You get to be the author of your own life, the narrator of your own experience, the one who decides what things mean. When something goes wrong, instead of the old story, I always mess up, you can try a new story that did not work, but I learned something and I will try again. When something good happens, instead of it was just luck, you can try I worked for that and I deserve it. When you face a challenge, instead of this is too hard for someone like me, you can try this is hard and I have done hard things before. These new stories are not lies, they are just different interpretations of the same events. They are choices about where to put your focus, what meaning to make, what to believe about yourself and your life. And the stories you choose shape everything that comes next. The new story you tell does not have to be wildly positive or fake, it just has to be more true than the old one. The old story, I'm a failure, is not actually true. It is a gross oversimplification of a complex human life. The truth is that you have succeeded at some things and failed at others, like every person who has ever lived. The truth is that you are still here, still trying, still capable of change, which is not what failures do. So your new story can be something like, I'm a person who keeps learning, or I am figuring it out as I go, or I am stronger than I think. These stories are not delusions, they are just more accurate, they include more of the truth than the old story did. They leave room for growth, for mistakes, for the messy reality of being human. And because they are more true, they are easier to believe, easier to build on, easier to live from. The stories you tell also affect how you see other people, which affects how they treat you, which affects your story in return. If your story is people are out to get me, you will walk around guarded and suspicious, and people will react to that energy. They will keep their distance, confirm your story, and you will feel justified in your belief. If your story is, most people are doing their best, you will walk around more open and kind, and people will respond to that too. They will be warmer, more helpful, more likely to prove your story right. This is not magic, it is just how humans work. We reflect back what we project out. The story you tell about others becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, just like the story you tell about yourself. So you get to choose, do you want to live in a world full of enemies or a world full of fellow travelers? Your story decides. Changing your story takes time and practice, because the old story has been running for years and it does not give up easily. You will catch yourself falling back into old patterns, old explanations, old ways of making sense of your life. When this happens, do not beat yourself up, just notice it and gently correct it, like a kind teacher helping a student. Say to yourself, there goes the old story, but I am writing a new one now, and keep moving. Over time, the new story will get stronger, more automatic, more natural to tell. The old story will fade, still popping up sometimes, but with less power, less ability to convince you it is true. And one day you will realize that you are living from a different place, a place of possibility instead of limitation. You will be the hero of your story instead of the victim, the author instead of the character. And that is when the real adventure begins. Chapter 13. What do you actually want? This might be the hardest question you ever answer, because you have been told what to want for so long that you forgot you had a choice. You were taught to want good grades, a stable job, a nice house, a partner, kids, a retirement fund, and then to die quietly having checked all the boxes. None of these things are bad, they are fine, they work for some people, but they might not be what you actually want. Somewhere underneath all the shoulds and musts and have-tos, there is a quiet voice with its own ideas. That voice might want to paint, to travel, to start a weird business, to live in a van, to adopt 17 cats, to write poetry no one reads. That voice might want something simpler, like more quiet, more space, more time to just breathe and be alive. But that voice got drowned out years ago by louder voices telling you what life should look like. This chapter is about finding that voice again and asking it the most important question: what do you actually want? The first step to answering this question is to create some silence, some space where the loud voices cannot reach you. This means turning off the phone, the TV, the radio, the notifications, the noise of the world demanding your attention. It means getting away from people for a while, even just an hour, even just a walk around the block without headphones. In that silence, you can start to hear the quieter voice, the one that has been trying to speak for years. You might hear it as a feeling more than words, a pull towards something, a longing for something you cannot quite name. You might hear it as a memory of something you loved as a kid, before you learned that loving it was impractical or silly. You might hear it as a jealousy of someone else's life, a sign that they have something you secretly want too. Pay attention to all of it, write it down, let it out without judging it. This is just information, not a plan, just clues about what your soul actually wants. Another way to find what you want is to ask yourself what you would do if you knew you could not fail, if failure was literally impossible. This question removes the fear that usually stops us from admitting our true desires. If you knew for sure that you would succeed, what would you try? What would you attempt? What would you go after with everything you have? The answer to this question is a clue, a pointer towards something that matters to you deeply. Maybe you would start a business, write a novel, ask someone out, move to a new city, learn an instrument, quit your job. Whatever comes to mind, even if it seems impossible right now, it is telling you something about what you want. And wanting something is the first step to having it, because you cannot go toward what you cannot even admit you desire. So admit it, even if only to yourself, even if only in a journal that no one will ever read. You can also ask yourself what you would do with your time if money was not an issue, if you had enough to live comfortably without working. This question removes the practical barriers that often hide our true desires behind bills and responsibilities. If you did not have to work for money, how would you spend your days? What would you fill your time with? The answer might surprise you. It might not be fancy travel or expensive hobbies. It might be gardening, reading, spending time with people you love, cooking, walking in nature, making things with your hands. These are clues too. They point toward activities that feed your soul, that make you feel alive without anyone paying you. And the beautiful thing is that you can start doing more of these things right now, even while you still have to work. You can carve out time for what actually matters, even if it is just an hour on the weekend. You can start building a life that includes more of what you actually want, starting today. Another powerful question is to imagine yourself at the very end of your life, looking back on the years you had. What would you regret not doing? What would you wish you had tried? What experiences would you miss most? This question cuts through all the daily noise and gets to the heart of what matters in the long run. Most people on their deathbeds do not wish they had worked more, made more money, or impressed more strangers. They wish they had loved more, taken more chances, spent more time with people they cared about. They wish they had been braver, more authentic, more fully themselves instead of who they thought they should be. Use this question now, while you still have time to do something about it. Let the future you send a message back to the present you, telling you what actually matters. And then start moving in that direction, one small step at a time. The final thing to remember is that what you want can change, and that is okay. That is part of being alive and growing. The answer you find today might not be the answer you find in 5 years, and that does not mean you were wrong before. It means you are learning, evolving, becoming more of who you are as you go. So do not put too much pressure on yourself to find the one true answer forever. Just find the answer for now, for this season of your life, for the person you are today. Follow that, see where it leads, and stay open to the possibility that it might lead somewhere you never expected. The point is not to get it right forever. The point is to keep asking the question, to keep checking in with yourself. What do you actually want right now, in this moment, with this one wild and precious life you have been given? Keep asking, keep listening, keep moving toward the answer. Chapter 14. Taking the first step right now. You have read 13 chapters. You have learned about waiting and promises and tools and maps and stories and wants. You have done a lot of thinking, a lot of considering, a lot of getting ready to get ready. But thinking is not doing, and considering is not moving, and reading about action is not the same as taking it. There comes a moment when the book has to close and the life has to start, when the planning becomes the planted. That moment is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready or less scared. Right now, in this very minute, you have everything you need to take one small step. It does not have to be the perfect step. It does not have to be the biggest step. It just has to be a step. This chapter is short because it is not about more words. It is about what you do after the words end. Look back at chapter 9 and remember the power of small wins, of tiny actions that build momentum over time. What is the smallest possible step you could take right now toward what you want? If you want to write, open a blank document and type one sentence, just one. If you want to get healthier, stand up and stretch your arms over your head for 10 seconds. If you want to start a business, write down one idea on a napkin, just one. If you want to fix a relationship, send a text saying, "I have been thinking about you," just that. The step should be so small that there is no excuse not to take it, so easy that even your fear cannot argue against it. And then take it right now, before your brain has time to talk you out of it. Do not wait until you finish this chapter. Do not wait until you feel inspired. Do it while you are reading these words. Put the book down for 30 seconds and take that tiny step. How did that feel? Even if it felt silly or small, you just did something. You just proved that you can move from thought to action. That is huge. That is the hardest part of the whole journey, and you just did it. Now the question is, what comes next? How do you keep the momentum going after this first tiny step? The answer is simple. Take another tiny step, and then another, and then another. Do not worry about how far you have to go. Just worry about the next step right in front of you. Do not think about the whole mountain. Just think about placing one foot in front of the other. The steps will add up. They always do. They have to, because that is how movement works. You have started, and starting is the hardest part, and you have already done it. So keep going, one small step at a time, and trust that the path will appear beneath your feet. One of the biggest tricks your mind will play on you now is telling you that you need a perfect plan before you take more steps. Your mind loves plans because plans feel safe. They feel like you are in control. They feel like progress without any actual risk. But plans are just dreams in fancy clothes until you take action, until you test them against the real world. The best plan in the world is worthless compared to the smallest action, because action teaches you what actually works. So do not wait for the perfect plan, just take another step and see what happens. If it works, great, take another. If it does not work, great, you learned something and you can adjust. Action gives you information that thinking never can, information that makes your next step smarter. So stop planning and start doing, stop preparing and start being, stop waiting and start walking. You might be scared right now. That is normal, that is human, that is a sign that you are doing something real. Fear shows up when you step out of your comfort zone, when you leave the familiar and head into the unknown. Do not wait for the fear to go away, because it might not. It might stay with you the whole way. Just take the next step with the fear right there beside you, holding its hand if you have to. Fear is not a stop sign. It is just a feeling, and feelings do not get to decide what you do. You decide what you do based on what matters to you, based on what you actually want. So feel the fear, acknowledge it, thank it for trying to protect you, and then take the next step anyway. The fear will fade as you move, it always does, because action is the only thing that really calms fear. So move now and keep moving and let the fear catch up if it can. Chapter 15. You, the hero of your own story. Look back at the person who started this book, the the one who was waiting for someone to come and save them. That person is still you, but they are also different now, changed by everything you have learned and done. You have stopped waiting and started moving. You have learned to spot empty promises and build your own map. You have cleaned out your heavy backpack and found your toolkit. You have practiced talking kindly to the face in the mirror. You have fallen and gotten back up. You have found your people and turned down the noise of others. You have asked yourself what you actually want, and you have taken the first step, and then another, and then another. You are not the same person who opened this book. You are someone new, someone becoming. You are the hero of your own story now, not because you are perfect, but because you are trying. Being the hero of your story does not mean you never get scared or sad or lost. It means you keep going anyway. Heroes in movies look brave and certain, but real heroes are just ordinary people who refuse to quit. They are people who wake up afraid and still get out of bed, who fail and still try again, who hurt and still open their hearts. They are people like you, people who decide that waiting is over and living has begun. They are people who know that nobody is coming to save them, so they learn to save themselves, one small step at a time. They are people who understand that saving yourself is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a choice you make over and over. You have been making that choice throughout this book, and you will keep making it for the rest of your life. That is what makes you a hero, not perfection, but persistence. You have also learned that being your own hero means being kind to yourself, not just tough on yourself. The old idea of a hero was someone who never showed weakness, who pushed through pain without flinching. But real strength includes softness, includes rest, includes admitting when you need help. You are learning to be both strong and gentle, both determined and flexible, both fierce and kind. You are learning that you can push yourself without breaking yourself, that you can have high standards and still be compassionate when you fall short. This balance is hard to find, and you will wobble. You will tip too far one way or the other. But you are learning, and learning is the whole point. Learning is what heroes do. So be proud of yourself for how far you have come, and be patient with yourself for how far you still have to go. The road ahead is still long, and it will still have bumps, and you will still have days when you want to quit. That is okay. That is part of the deal. That is what makes the journey real and meaningful. On those days, remember what you have learned, remember the tools in your kit, remember the people beside you. Remember that you have fallen before and gotten up, and you can do it again. Remember that the story you tell yourself can change, and you can choose one that helps you keep going. Remember that small steps add up, that today's tiny action becomes tomorrow's momentum. Remember that you are the hero, not because you asked for this job, but because you showed up for it anyway. And showing up, day after day, step after step, is all that heroism really is. So here you are, at the end of this book and the beginning of everything else. The pages are running out, but your story is just getting started, and you are the one writing it now. Nobody else gets the pen, nobody else chooses the plot, nobody else decides how it ends. You get to write it, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one small step at a time. It will not be perfect, it will be messy and beautiful and hard and wonderful. It will be yours, completely and totally yours, because you earned it, you walked it, you lived it. And that is the whole point. That is why nobody was coming to save you. Because this story, your story, was always meant to be written by you. Conclusion: the open road. So here we are at the end of this journey together, but your journey is just beginning to unfold. You have learned that waiting is a trap, that empty promises are everywhere, and that you already have everything you need inside you. You have cleaned out your backpack, built your map, and found your people along the way. You have learned to talk to yourself with kindness, to get back up when you fall, and to tell yourself a better story. You have asked the hard question about what you actually want, and you have taken the first brave step toward it. All of this has been practice, rehearsal for the real show, which is the rest of your life. And now the rehearsal is over, the book is closing, and the open road is waiting right outside your door. It might look scary out there, all that space, all that unknown, all that possibility. But you are ready, more ready than you know, because the person who is scared is also the person who has been preparing for this moment. The open road does not come with a map, and that is the whole point. That is where the adventure lives. You will make wrong turns, you will hit dead ends, you will sometimes feel lost and want to go back. But you will also see things you never imagined, meet people who change you, discover parts of yourself you forgot existed. You will have days so beautiful they hurt, and days so hard they make you wonder why you started. Through all of it, you will keep moving because that is who you are now, a mover, a doer, a liver of your own life. You will not wait by the window anymore. You will be out the door, on the road, making your way. Nobody is coming to save you, but you do not need saving anymore because you have learned to save yourself. And saving yourself, it turns out, is not about being safe. It is about being free. So go be free, and know that the best part of the story is still ahead, waiting for you to write it with your feet.